good morning, or afternoon, or evening, or whenever you're watching this. It's good to be together again. I am enjoying the quiet of my house as one child is in nursery and the other is sleeping. Hopefully she'll remain asleep for the next few minutes. I hope you're all well in this another season of transition in a way of getting back to life. But we are not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Hebrews. I'm going to read Hebrews 9, 11 to 22. It says, "But when Christ appeared as a high priest of the good things that have come, then through the greater and the more perfect tent, not made with hands, that is, not of this creation, he entered once for all into the holy places, not by means of the blood of goats and calves, but by means of his blood, thus securing an eternal redemption." That line there is really important. We'll come back to that. "For if the blood of goats and bulls and sprinkling of defiled persons with the ashes of a heifer sanctify for the purification of the flesh, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish," another important key, without blemish to God, "purify our conscience from dead works to serve the living God. Therefore, he is the mediator of the new covenant, so that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, since a death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions committed under the first covenant. For where a will is involved, the death of one who made it must be established. For a will takes effect only at death, since it is not a force as long as the one who made is alive. Therefore, not even the first covenant was inaugurated without blood. For when every commandment of the law has been declared by Moses to all people, he took the bloods of calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and the people, saying, 'This is the blood of the covenant that God commanded for you.' And in the same way he sprinkled with the blood both the tent and the vessels used in worship. Indeed, under the law everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood there would be no forgiveness of sins." So here we see the writers talking about redemption through the blood of Christ. We see that Jesus has come and he is the ultimate, perfect sacrifice. Through these verses you see a contrast between the old covenant and the new covenant, the law, which required a cleansing of sins through sacrifice, and they used to use animal blood for that. And that was something that needed to be done repeatedly. It had a tradition yearly, and then there were times in between that they would also do that. But here we see the contrast of Christ. And Christ came, and by his blood he secured an eternal redemption. This is a one-off sacrifice. This is a one-off gift that paid the price. That blood is enough to cleanse all of our sins, the sins of everybody. And it says, if the blood of the animals were enough, how much more is the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to God? How much more powerful is that blood to purify us, to cleanse us, and to save us from death? It's such a beautiful image that we see that Christ, the perfect sacrifice, here we see the contrast. We see them talking about what used to be required in the Old Testament, and we see what Christ did for us, that we no longer have to be sprinkled by blood, be sprinkled by ashes, be sprinkled and to kill those animal sacrifices, because Christ, the ultimate, the perfect sacrifice, paid the price once and for all. And we are involved in that. We are included in that. We are invited into that when we come to Christ. That's our inheritance. That's our will. That's the promise, is that we have been cleansed from our sins because of Jesus, because of his perfect sacrifice. And it's just, when you really meditate on it, when you really let that sink in, I think often we can become kind of used to that. We talk about Jesus on the cross all the time, what he did for us on the cross. But I really encourage you to go back and to read these verses and to let that sink in. To see that the ultimate perfect sacrifice that Jesus was, that he paid that price once and for all for us, so that we can enter in to this relationship, to this new covenant, to this freedom that we have in this life with Christ.